Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. I'm messing around in General Tito's comment section. That's what that. Well, I was already running a couple minutes late anyway, but I spent like the past 3 or 4 minutes in talking to General Tito, tell him we got to link and talk cars and black women because obviously Z. Right. So my apologies, everyone. Z is here. Z is here. Okay. All right. Oh boy. Anton. So, the link is in the description. I hope I gave you guys enough time to check it out. It's not that long. Shout out to Anton Daniels and his review, his bit of a review because the interview is longer than that. Or the live stream of Dr. Umar Johnson is longer than that. But shout out to Anton. First, let's say this. This is not a teardown of Anton, although I disagree with him. We're politically unaligned. We're not, we agree on certain things, obviously, but we're not politically aligned. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, we're not politically aligned, but we agree on certain things. I'll start there. I will say this: Dr. Umar Johnson came off very arrogant. And I'm saying that, yes, Dr. Umar Johnson is a PhD, absolutely, right? Always give him his props on that. But this whole King Kong of consciousness thing, and people are imitating you, right? This like y'all are my mini me's type of thing, like this hip hop ish, like I am not academically accomplished, so I can only go so far with my critique or quote unquote criticism of this type of behavior coming from a PhD. I hesitate to say it's unbecoming because I'm not obviously on that level. But it does. It just comes off wrong, right? And forget rubs people the wrong way, right? So this idea that other people are just trying to imitate you and you're the greatest. I hear you. I hear you, Dr. Umar Johnson. All right. Right. I hear you. Okay. All right. Let's put that out there first. This came off arrogant from Dr. Umar Johnson. The y'all use all my mini me's, right? Y'all are my mini me's. Z, could you get it out? Mini me's. There we go. All right. Now, speaking to Anton, look, Dr. Umar Johnson is actually correct about changing the level of consciousness, right? How much the U.S. government, different agencies in the U.S. government are invested in changing the level of consciousness of Black people. Dr. Umar Johnson is actually correct about that. He's right. It's that simple. He's right. Right? Everything from former President Nixon literally saying sell Black people on capitalism and feel good stories, aesthetic community uplift. That's real, by the way. That's not a conspiracy theory. Right? Everything from LBJ literally saying, right, him passing civil rights bills will have these Negroes, and he ain't say Negroes voting Democrat for the next 200 years, or he said how many generations, right? That's, once again, not a conspiracy. That's real, right? Bill Clinton literally thanking John Lewis at John Lewis's funeral for taking the civil rights gains out of the hands of Kwame Toure's hands in a way that was beneficial to Bill Clinton. In other words, all the boons and the gains in the energy coming from many of our parents, right? Younger boomers and older Xers, all of that energy that they were infused with, coming from silent generation and older boomers. Bill Clinton was thanking John Lewis for taking that energy away from Kwame Ture, keeping it, and then giving it to Bill Clinton so that Bill Clinton could be elected in 92 and in 96, right? So when Dr. Umar Johnson says changing the level of consciousness, he's not wrong, right? Once again, even with, okay, you're speaking about Candace Owens, Anton, the Republicans and the conservative side of the political spectrum propped up Candace Owens, particularly as a counter to the narrative that 94%, and it's factually accurate, by the way, 94% of black women voted Democrat in 2016. Further, another 92 some odd percent of black women voted Democrat once again in 2020. So when we speak about, when Dr. Umar says, there are people put here to change the level of consciousness, him saying the people and black people and essentially calling these people coons, I hear you, Anton. I hear where you're going, but if he just leaves it at, these people are put here to change the level of consciousness, or that the dominant society is interested in changing the level of consciousness of black people, Dr. Umar Johnson is not wrong, right? Both the political left and the political right use the black. What do we do with the Negro, right? The ultimate question of America, what do we do with the Negro? They do use that as a political football. Dr. Umar Johnson is not wrong about that, right? It's not some harebrained conspiracy theory, right? So once again, Anton, I hear you, but Dr. Umar Johnson isn't wrong. He's just not. He's not, right? So controlling the narrative, Dr. Umar is right about that, right? He's correct. So Anton goes on to say, the Dr. Umar Johnsons of the world, they sell you on the black struggle. Anton, I'm sorry to say, but black people in mass are struggling. Anti-blackness is a real thing. White supremacy is a real thing, or if you want to call it white hegemony, so that we don't laud white people, then yeah, no, it's a real thing. It's a real, black degradation is a real thing, Anton. I know elitist brothers and aspirational brothers like you hate to hear it, right? There's nothing that chaps your ass more, but no, black degradation is real. Black struggle is real. The median household income for black people is what, less than $50,000 a year? And not all of that is because black women refuse to marry black men, better yet. Not all of that is that reason. Not all of that is character flaw in black people and financial literacy issues. I know. The median household income in general in America, when you remove race, when you don't control for race, is $74,000 and some change. $74,000 a year, Anton. Like, it's real. It's real out here. I don't know like where this narrative comes from in the black community. This Anton narrative that, like, Dr. Umar Johnson, yes, he came off arrogant. Yes, I think we're way too quick to call people coons, or at least imply or suggest that they are. Although Dr. Umar, at least from the clip that Anton played, did not call Candace a coon, that I recall, but he got real close. But this, so I gotta make space for that. Like, Anton's right about, like, some of this rhetoric that comes from the Dr. Umar Johnsons of the world. But then we get into, like, the F that, what's the answer? What's the solution talk? And if the solution if the solution is not with a zillion zeros, right? If the solution doesn't end and start with a 1 and 5, 6 zeros behind it, then I don't want to hear it, right? And that is not beneficial for black people. I know. Shocker. I know, right? Defeatist talk. I know. Nihilistic. I know, right? Right. So it's difficult having this conversation oftentimes because of how invested we are on particular narratives, and we've been propagandized to believe in those narratives. By the way, Anton, I'm not making that up. That's why I brought up Nixon literally telling Mitt Romney's father, George Romney, we're going to sell them on capitalism. I didn't make that up. Right? The color of money. Mercer Baradaran literally has the quote written out. Right? So I'm not making that up, by the way. You know. So once again, Anton, the white power structure may not have given us, black people, these plans, but it does seek to control the narrative as found in multiple federal government documents. Literally, the FBI said prevent the rise of a black messiah. I mean, bruh. So I know in the 21st century, we would like to dismiss, like, white people are not that preoccupied with us. They don't really think about us like that. Actually, they do. As whether you're talking about politicians, whether you're speaking about white CEOs. I mean, do we forget about the leak of the Sony tape and the way those executives were talking about all type of celebrities, including black celebrities, right? Whether you're talking about what the Exxon CEO saying, black people are like the black jelly bean, they stick to the bottom or nobody wants them. Yeah. All type of government officials, once again, politicians, executives, including some of the black ones, right? What's her name? Channing Dungey, former CEO of ABC, black woman. We have wish fulfillment TV for black people. In other words, propagandizing black people on aspirationalism. You got to get past these euphemisms, dear Anton. She said, we black wish fulfillment TV for black people. Translation, train tracks. Translation. Selling black people on aspirationalism. And then you wonder why black women sound delusional. Not saying that they wouldn't anyway, but the media definitely doesn't help. We know social media doesn't help. True. But there is millions and billions of dollars put into propagandizing black people to be the black people you see now. And it's not just a bunch of leftists doing it neither. Huh? Because last time I checked, Rupert Murdoch said that black people have always been slaves. Ooh, goddamn, see? You know, the CEO, I think it passed down to one of the sons now, but the former CEO of News Corp, yeah, that guy. Right? That guy. And Victor Creed says, Umar talks like a wrestling promo. Thank you for the super chat, Vic. Right? I think that's more Jason Black, but I hear you. It's hysterical. Right? And once again, thank you for the super chat, Vic. Right? So we have to be honest about these things. So for me, Anton got really close to the we's our own worst enemy talk, right? Especially when he does the, black people are tired of this blackity black talk, right? To be honest with you, that's really close to the, we's our own worst enemy talk. And, well, isn't that convenient? Isn't that just a convenient ass talking point? We's our own worst enemy type of talk. We have to be careful when we engage with these narratives, Anton. I hear you, but and let me touch on this also. I have it further down in my notes, but I remember it right now. Mr. Z is on the road, so I can't even look at the notes right now. We are in transit. You know, it wouldn't take hundreds of thousands. It wouldn't take a couple million. The way the school, at least the way Dr. Umar Johnson describes that school that he wants to put together and build and have employ, employ black people, black professionals for initially, at least at first, black boys. This project is not hundreds of thousands. It's not a couple million. This is millions, if not at least $10 million. This would cost Dr. Umar, or at least cost us, the people that have donated, maybe 10 million. This is not no small project. So last time I checked, and that was a couple of years ago, Dr. Umar Johnson had saved $700,000. I'm sorry, that's not enough. Let's say now it's up to $1 million. That's not enough. For the way Dr. Umar Johnson was speaking, especially if you want to have an institution where the kids stay on campus, they stay on the school premises, and they have all the staff stay there, and borderline a boarding school for boys. Yeah, $700,000 is not enough. $1 million is not enough. $1.5 million is not enough. It's not. Between the power, between paying staff, taxes, well, not tax, probably a school, so it wouldn't be getting tax breaks actually. But no, and this is before we start talking about, they're going to be sabotaging. This is not Z trying to simp for Dr. Umar Johnson in this project. Y'all have already heard Z go in on Dr. Umar Johnson. But I think when we have a particular perspective and a political ideology, I think sometimes it warps the way we view the world. And it strips us of nuance often. It strips us of nuance. Anton, the median household income is $74,000 a year, bro. $74,000 a year. This insane money talk, especially coming from you brothers, is insane. It's just insane. It's insane. 9% of Americans are worth $1 million or more. Liquid. I'm sorry, not liquid. I'm sorry, not liquid. Not liquid. Not liquid. Sorry. And it's really not, well, now it's died. It was 8.8 a couple years ago. So I don't know where this comes from. It distorts black politics. Y'all really think y'all can get to the money, and all of a sudden it just changes everything, and that once black people have some money, then they automatically have some power? That's not how it works. Right? I was thinking about this earlier. I was watching the Breaking Points, and Crystal Ball, who seems to be prego from Kyle Kalinske. Congratulations. Crystal Ball was right, and they're married, by the way. Crystal Ball, who was Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jenny covering the Diddy situation, and she was like, "Oh yeah, somebody as powerful as Diddy, and and I'm like, what? Because Diddy is worth $1 billion, you think he's powerful? Yeah, he can maybe get a couple of things covered up. I don't know where y'all be getting this powerful black people just because they got a couple of dollars thing. Was Kanye powerful when he went up against the small hats? Was Oprah powerful when she went up against the meat industry? What is this powerful y'all talking about? Jeff Bezos can make phone calls and reverse losing a bidding war against Elon Musk for a space program. Can Oprah do that? Can Jay-Z do that? Can Diddy do that? Can Diddy call a senator and have something reversed in his favor? And I'm tying that to what Anton's saying, like, bro, I don't know what y'all talking with this money thing. Like, what are y'all talking about? It causes black people to be delusional about their current position and what real power from money looks like. And I don't know if we actually have black people that are in that position. There, I said it. Now call me a defeatist if you want. So where did that come from, Z? Anton goes in and speaks about essentially saying, you hear people say, or you hear these people say, it's not real racism because black people don't have the power to enforce such and such. And if you believe that, then what about Fannie Willis and what about Kamala Harris? You mean the two black women that are moving at the behest of white left, of the white liberals? You mean the two black women that are being fueled by white liberals? Fannie Willis and Kamala Harris, who are moving at the behest of the white left. You think that's an example of what? Reverse racism? Huh. So the mixed black woman who ancestry is not even to America and that is married to a white man and is vice president to a white president is an example of what? Reverse racism? What? Anton, come on, bro. Fannie Willis, who attempted, and we already know Fannie Willis is back on the case, but because she was on the case and is going after Donald Trump, is currently, right, had to fight a case based off of her own personal situation because the Trump people, white folks, are actually influential and powerful enough to start pulling documents, to start getting certain things looked over, and to try to get her kicked off of the case. And you want to talk about essentially reverse racism? And those were not Anton's words, by the way. And once again, when Anton essentially says that Fannie Willis and Kamala Harris are example of black people that do have power to be racist. And he didn't use those exact words, but that's what he was getting at. And I say, this is Anton purposely not being honest that those black women are moving at the behest and in the direction that the white left has directed them to move in. How is that example of what? Black power? What? Reverse racism? How is that an example of that? Right? We got to be careful with this, brother Anton, brother. We got to be careful with this, bro. So Anton goes on to speak about independence, right? And defining what independence is. Black people, you want me to tell you something a bit sobering? You ready for it? Independence ain't real. Ooh, goddamn, Z, what are you talking about? Independence ain't real. You want me to prove it to you? Let me drop you off on Mars and let's see how long you survive. By yourself. Or let me drop you off at anywhere on planet Earth in the wilderness by yourself. Independence is not real. And there you go. No one is truly independent. It's not real. especially as black people. I mean, we share a jersey color, and black, in the way we see it, black people were created. It's a political tool created by white folks. It's a classification created by white folks. Black people cannot be independent of each other. It's not real. Independence is not real. It's a novel thought. It's not real, though. No one is truly independent. It's not real. Right? So there's that. And I tie that also to Anton speaking about identity politics. Oh boy. So now we're kind of in the weird place of facts over feelings, and like, you know, I focus on the policies. First of all, there's been like so many studies, like endless amount of studies that show the American voter, not just black people. We don't actually vote on policy. We vote on whether we like you or not, and we usually vote down the same party lines our parents did. Somebody want to tell Z he's wrong? Thank you, compassionate. Rights ain't real neither. Rights are not real either, right? Man. So it's frightening, you know, listening to Anton, who you know knows better, talk like this. I'm not trying to come da, 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 and like cape for Dr. Umar Johnson, but when he says, like, you know, the line that he said about consciousness, and these people wish to essentially manipulate our consciousness, Dr. Umar is not lying. You have multiple presidents essentially say that, get caught saying it, or leak. I mean, like, what is it when once again that leak tape? Shout out to the Roger Report. I love when I say it's a leak tape, and Roger's like, and Biden got caught saying this, and Roger's like, he ain't get caught saying nothing. he said what he said, right? It wasn't an accident. I agree with Roger on this, right? But when, quote unquote, the leak tape, when Biden says, you know, essentially shaming black, quote unquote, civil rights leaders for not being more closely connected to the Latinos, and anything y'all need or want, y'all better get with the Latinos first before you come to me. Number one. Number two, you know, biracial commercials or interracial commercials, essentially saying, like, is racism really a thing? Translation: I'm a propagandize y'all with a bunch of black woman, white man commercials and black man, white woman commercials to show, look, you're integrated, aren't you? You've assimilated, haven't you? Look how many TV shows I have with the token black person in there, and an all-white cast and one token black person. Look, America's no longer anti-black and racist. Like, Anton, these things are real. These things are real, bro. Like, this is not, you know, just complaining. And I think we need to be very careful how we engage with this type of rhetoric. I know election season, it's heating up. The two old geriatric racists, anti-blacks, both of them are geriatric, both of them are anti-black. Oh, Trump anti-black. He used to be around a bunch of black celebrities, and Candace owns this, right? Look, all the rap songs talking about him in a lauding way, and then once he runs, then all these black people turn on him. Candace Owens is right about that. But when did we, or better yet, because we actually do get our politics from black celebrities, unfortunately, when we, why should we be getting our politics from black celebrities? There you go, Z. So you mean to tell me the black people that get a lot of their money from white people, and after you pass a certain amount of album sales, it's a bunch of white people, we should be getting our politics and our political views from those people? So that's a sign that Trump is not anti-black? Because a lot of black people used to hang around him? Because Kanye wishes he was him? That's a sign that Trump is not anti-black? Okay, I guess. And Trell referencing Dave Chappelle saying, I wonder what Ja Rule got to say, which is another way of saying these celebrities don't like. Why are we asking washed up like these? It's irrelevant. In other words, it's irrelevant. You're asking like a washed up has been, you know, and what they have to say is irrelevant. That's essentially what Dave Chappelle was saying, right? He purposely used the Ja Rule name. Right? And that was a really good one. Trell me with the references, bro. I'll be reading the references, Charles. Most of the times I get them, sometimes I don't, and then it takes me a day or two, but like, that's what Trell was talking about. Y'all have no idea how often, because obviously I'm streaming, and then half the time I'm streaming when I'm driving, so clearly I can't look at the comments, and then when it finally populates and I watch the comments later, and I read, I'm like, that's what Trell was trying to get at. Like the other day, I didn't even realize I said, I think Passport OG referenced what song was it, and I said, who did I say? I said it was Lloyd's song, and it wasn't Lloyd's song, it was Mario's song. But right? But I said Lloyd, and I once again, right? Thank you, Toya. Sounds about white. Look at the unenviable position that black people are always put in. Black people are always put in the most unenviable position ever. Hillary Clinton or Trump? What? You mean the person that said those black kids had to do something wrong, right? When it comes to Central Park 5, or the super predator lady? What? These are our options? Are you serious? Then we have the battle between the two geriatrics, part 2. We had to choose between these two old racist hags. I know they're men. We don't call men hags, but two old racist hags. And now we got to choose between the two old racist hags again? Man, nah, not doing it. Nope. So I hear you, Anton. I understand conservative views. Yes, I hear you, brother. I hear you. But these talking points, and especially when you said, if you followed it, and excuse me, y'all, my car is beeping because I'm getting real close to the park hump, and there we go. All right. Vic kills me. Couch 2024. I'm gonna go vote, right? Because there's other things that I want to vote for. But yeah, Florida election, right? But yeah, I'm not voting president. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know what? I put money. I'm probably gonna write in Cornel West's name. Right? I'm not even lying to y'all. I'm probably gonna write in Cornel West's name. And I've been thinking about this for a few weeks. That's probably what's gonna happen. Right. So I hear where Anton is coming from, and when he says essentially he says, and y'all, check the link in the description so y'all can see what I'm referencing. But when he essentially says, if you believe in these conservative values, what Candace Owens is advocating, you mean the woman that said that she used to have a thing for Asian guys? Okay, cool. Um, you know, Candace is actually advocating for things that's beneficial for the black community. You mean the lady that couldn't admit that global warming or climate change, if you want to say it in a way that's more palatable, that climate change is a real thing? You mean the lady that couldn't admit that? The lady that said that she believes in free market capitalism when that ain't exactly helping the average American right now? Oopsie. You mean that lady? Huh. See, Vince, we're going to start a whole new hashtag. Exactly. And Vincent John Doom says, hashtag write it in. You feel me? That's the hashtag for 2024. And Nema says, Z, have you forgotten the full page ads Trump was pulling out during the Central Park 5 case in 89 and 90? No, I purposely didn't reference that. The reason why I referenced what I referenced, Nema, is to say, even after, remember, what I'm saying is even after it was like, oh crap, we got the kids and it's not them, and da da da. And he still said they did something wrong, lock them, keep them locked up anyway. That was my whole point, right? I'm purposely not going to all the editorials that he was publishing in 89 and 90. I'm purposely going after they were pretty much found to not have committed this crime against this white lady in the park. Right? Man. So, I hear what you said, Anton. And this is not really even to defend Dr. Umar Johnson, but it is to say you're getting real close to the we's our own worst enemy. Like, brother, there's like a road to this type of thing, right? On the left, we have to be careful also, because if I go too far, then guess where I end up? I end up where FD is, right? And if I go too far from that, I end up where the milk dud head brother, and I'm bald too. The milk dud head brother, that was on MSNBC, that essentially said, to hell with the black male vote. Why are y'all even focused on that? So even on the black left, I have to be careful how far I go, what I advocate for. I always have to check myself. Because if you take too many steps too far in one direction, well, then you actually stop advocating for the people as much as you think you're still doing it. Right? And Mr. G 1804, hysterical, I love the title, right? Says Sakap Fat Neg which means what's going on, bro? I like this kind of pushback. There's a lot of delusional narrative in our spaces that need rebutting. Keep it up. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Right. And thank you for the super chat. Yep. Look, and that's why I'm pushing back on Anton. This is not to insult Anton. I do not think Anton is a dumb brother. I think this sort of narrative is detrimental. I think not being honest about the current position that black people find themselves in is detrimental. I think minimizing anti-blackness and just calling it quote unquote identity politics because black people actually accurately identify themselves as black because that is the political project that they're put under, and that both the right left and the white left and the white right. I'm telling y'all, you get tongue tied saying it so many times, right? The white left and the white right use black people and the black vote as a political football, right? Like accurately assessing that, black people accurately assessing that is not playing identity politics. And Dr. Umar Johnson saying that is not playing identity politics, right? And when you bring up, see, this is very, and that's why I brought up the Diddy case earlier. This is very dangerous when we get into like Fannie Willis and Kamala Harris are example of what? Who are they moving at? Who are they moving to benefit? Kamala Harris movements aren't beneficial to black people writ large. It's not even beneficial to black women. Fannie Willis moves are not beneficial to black people at large. Once again, it's not even beneficial for black women. That's the white left. That's not an example of some sort of reverse racism. That's not an example of black power. It's not. Thank you, Earth. Black, white is a designation. Exactly. I'm okay, obviously. You know, I engage with all y'all see me engage with Hoodservative. And we're coming to the same conclusion about a bunch of things. It's funny how these things work, right? Our solutions to the answers might be different, but we're coming to the same conclusion. And depending on what it is, it might not be as different as many may think. But Anton, when you engage in this, I think it's very dangerous. But I think it's very dangerous to start assigning black power where there is none. It causes black people to be delusional, and it causes white people, white folks, who I'm perfectly okay with shaming. I don't know why y'all don't think shaming is not a thing. Like, look, Z, man, once again, all these so-called logical fallacies that y'all done bought into, I don't know where the hell y'all get it from. But it's Mr. Z using all the tools in the toolkit, all of them. Right? And Jay, this is an idea. I wouldn't mind. And Dre says you should do a stream with Hoodservative. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. Thank you. And Trell says Kamala doesn't benefit East Indians either, bro. So you know, I think it's extremely dangerous to assign black power where that's not an example of black power. To assign some type of like, you know, reverse racism power. And I'm not saying that Anton said that. That's the direction he was going in, though, where there is none. That's not, you know, what's going on, Art? That's not an example of. Fannie is not moving to benefit black people. She's not. That's not flexing black girl magic and black girl power. It's not. Kamala isn't flexing black girl magic and black girl power. They'll play that game with black women, right? But that's not beneficial for black people or black women. You know, and as I said earlier, look, Dr. Umar Johnson did come off supremely arrogant. Yes, he did. Absolutely. But the dominant society being invested in changing the consciousness of black people, Dr. Umar Johnson is not wrong about that. And you know he's not wrong about that, Anton. I won't even give you the space to say, I don't know. No, you know he's not wrong about that. Right? And there's so many examples of this. There's so many examples. Once again, from politicians to corporate leaders who have been caught on tape saying reckless stuff about black people, not so caught on tape saying reckless stuff about black people, literally speaking about how they can hurt black people. Southern Strategy, anyone? Lee Atwater, anyone? Right? I mean, Bill Clinton literally was thanking John Lewis for giving him the booze and the gains and the energy from the civil rights movement and sanitizing the civil rights movement in a way that he could transmute that into votes for Bill Clinton and taking and making Kwame Ture look radical. Is that not manipulating black consciousness? Yes, that's on the left, but what about on the right? Uh-oh. What do you think Candace Owens is there for? Huh? So to Anton, I say, brother, you got to be careful with this. Once again, election season is heating up. I know we're going to, quote unquote, take our sides. The difference of opinion is always going to be there. The disagreements are always going to be there. But could we at least agree on the facts? I'm not really with the post structuralism, right? Postmodernism. I don't get into the whole like now we're stretching words and definitions to the point where it doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm not there with it on the left. I'm not that far left. I'm left, but I ain't there. Right? Huh. You know? So, Anton, shout out to the brother. I see he's doing work on his channel, and the disagreement is going to be there. It's always going to be there, as I said earlier. Thank you, Vince. And shout out to Toya, because Toya says this too. Words mean things. Words mean things. And I actually when I'm beating myself up for not. So I have a video titled "Word Means Things." I think that was from last month. And I didn't shout out Toya, and I should have shout out Biz. It was because I heard that I even put that title up there. Shout out to Toya, Toya the tutor, Toya the Texan. Toya changes her name often, right? But yes, words mean things, right? So I agree with Dr. Umar on like all of you are my mini me's? No, no, I do not. Do I think there are some type of alphabet agency that's fearful of Dr. Umar? No. Do I think they're watching him? Probably. Are they watching him at least? Probably. They keeping an eye on him? Yes. I believe it. Are they fearful of him? No. Not at this date, I would argue. Right? But Dr. Umar is right about these things. I know it's coming from a Hotep pro black space, and right now we're in the era of mocking Hotep brothers and the pro black space. I get it. I know. Jake, that's hysterical. And Jake says Anton and Dr. Umar need to create a Kuji Dashiki collection. Oh, hysterical. Right? Oh yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, yeah. Detroit says they are watching him on government watch list. I think so. So, and once again, Mr. G 18804, thank you for the super chat. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. So, y'all know Mr. Z's channel. We don't only talk about the women. We talk about politics and social issues and whatever Z wants to speak about. And shout out to General Tito. Tito, get with me so we can we can link up and do this stream about cars. And shout out to Tito. I'm gonna spend a couple minutes on this car talk real quick with you guys. Tito was speaking about like some of his disappointment with GM. Shout out to Tito with that because that is Z when it comes to Nissan, and yeah, and Nissan's going through it right now too. So yeah. No, I did not. And Dre says, Z, did you see Tatum speaking about the Candace interview? No, I did not. Well, Mr. Z got something to look up. Right? Video coming soon. Right? What's going on, Better You? Man. Thank you, Charles. And Charles says, I enjoy the domestic politics and geopolitics content. Me too, actually. A lot. A lot. And it shows, like Charles Faulkner says, shout out to Charles Faulkner Jr. Like Charles Faulkner says, it shows that we're multifaceted. God damn, Trail. Trust me, he's been 2,200 on Impala, on my Impala today. Jeez. Man, PK with the jokes. PK says Nissan needs our Spirit Energy Z. They try to make the Spirit bomb car hysterical. Right? No problem. And Better You says, chillin', brother. Thanks again for this share. And y'all check out Better You's channel. And he speaks about where we're speaking about the other day, the article where the black woman, married to a white man, said that black men don't protect black women in these corporate spaces the way white men protect white women, which we know is a lie from the pits of hell. Right? Facts. And Wolf Daddy says, be careful with the terms and conditions because the car companies will sell your data to your car insurance. This is by the way, this is like facts. So, I just thought I would come to y'all with this today. I mean no disrespect, Anton, but brother, I I think this deserved a bit more nuance from you, a bit less elitist hat from you, right? You can loosen up the elitist hat just a bit and put it down and speak from the perspective that the average person is average and will always be average, including average black people. And when you speak about what did Dr. Umar Johnson do to put money in your pocket, I don't think that's exactly Dr. Umar Johnson's lane. That's your lane. And that's okay. That's not Dr. Umar Johnson's lane. And I think we get into a very dangerous place, and it's easy for black people to discard black people when we start doing the same type of talk as elite corporatists on if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Remember, black people are supposed to be the sin eaters of our society. Black people are supposed to be a drain on our society. That is much of the reason why there's white flight when we move into a neighborhood. So I think you get into some very dangerous territory when you start sounding like how the women sound like, Negro, where's the check? Where's the money? If you ain't talking money, then what you talking about? I don't think black people are in that position to talk like that, to think like that, or to feel like that. Right? Thank you. And Jay says, Anton equal get your money up, Negro. And by the way, yes, get your money up. Mr. Z is not anti-money. That's why Mr. Z is always recording in the car, because Mr. Z is always going to or from work. Right? So I'm not anti-money. As I always say, I'm not anti-entrepreneurialism. But, right? And shout out to Professor Black Truth that says, you know what I say always, but, right? It validates everything that came before it. True. But, right? I am not anti-money or anti-entrepreneurialism, but black people's issues are deeper and bigger, pause, than just not having money and not being entrepreneurialist enough. 2 million businesses between 92 and 2012. Black people started. What that mean? Right? Black people got to play a different type of game than everybody else, because black people are in a different type of position than everyone else. Right? Trust is bigger pause or bigger pause. Aren't they like borderline pronounced the same though? Pause PAWS and pause PAUSE. Like if you heard somebody say pause randomly, like how do you know they're not speaking not the pause button, but like an animal paw, like multiple animal paws? Trail over here with jokes. You see what I'm saying? It's else is asking people to walk the same road as the Mars family is ridiculous. I would love to see Anton speak to Tone Talks. Art new style with the jokes too. And Art says, I put the pause on them and they paused. I mean, for you brothers that really actually know how to fight for real, if you do put the pause on somebody, they are gonna pause. I guess they will be paused after you put the pause on them. Oh, that's hysterical. That's a good one, Art. That was a good one. You know what? Trell and Toya, weren't we supposed to do a dad's joke in a one-liner show? We were supposed to do a dad joke in one-liner show. I almost forgot. Right? Man. Trell said you paused them with your pause. Allspat says Anton plus Tone Talks would be ridiculous. LOL. I hope it happens. Yeah, no, no. I think that would be a great conversation. I'm with you, Allspats. Yeah, that would be a great conversation. That would be a great conversation and back and forth, right? I'm not gonna lie. I think Tone Talks would be probably a bit more frustrated than Anton. I think Anton's poker face is way better. Funny enough, Tone Talks is the attorney, right? And so Hell says, did Tone Talks and Yvette Carnell start beefing? Not from what I think, because I listened to his stream that he recorded, what, two or was it even full 2 days ago? And Yvette was in his chat. And he asked Yvette to call in. I don't think she did. No, she didn't. But yeah, he had asked her to call in. So I don't think they're on bad terms last time I checked. I hope not. If the founders or the most recent founders of the ADOS movement are at odds, then it's a done deal. Hopefully not. But it's, so Afro National says this is get your money up, Negroes, versus you ain't got no wealth, motherfuckers. I but these aren't mutually exclusive. They can occupy the same space because it's true on both ends, right? The issue, I think, is acknowledging where you are first and then moving from there. And much of my issue with so when years ago when I watched the back and forth between, and this is before they actually beefed, which is Boyce Watkins and Yvette Carnell. Yvette was giving Dr. Boyce Watkins that work, excuse me, because at least from the way I perceived it back then, I probably would see it a little different with new eyes, but Yvette was far more understanding of the current landscape. Now, solutions, that's when we get into a different conversation. Then I would argue Dr. Boyce Watkins was. You can't start off with the hope language, right? You can't start off with the what we need to do. I would argue before you at least acknowledge where you are fully. And if you want to get into how you got there, then that's a different conversation. But if you can at least acknowledge where you are, then how can you ever go to the what we need to do? Well, can we at least speak about where we are first? Work from that point on, right? So yeah, get your money up and you ain't got no wealth. I think that exists in this. That can exist in the same space. That's not mutually exclusive, right? And you know, yeah. And here's but here's the thing. I think Anton would probably lean more to the shortcomings of the black community, character flaw talk, right? We'll get into we'll get real close to black people are their own worst enemy type of talk. And I think Tone is far more obviously systemic issues, um, black degradation by design, by the state, corporate interest that hurt Americans writ large, which ultimately, obviously, really hurt black people, right? So yeah. And Sahel says, "My bad. I hope they're good. Um, the only issue I have with Tone, Jason, and the rest is pushing sports stars and rappers to donate money to the cause. You can't shame someone to step into the gap. So I'm of two minds on this. I agree and disagree. Because I don't think any one person comes out of nowhere. I don't know about shaming them if that's necessarily a proper way of doing things. So I agree with you on that. But I also don't think that I think that we're obligated. I just don't think I should tell you you're obligated, if that makes any sense. Right? I think black people are obligated to other black people. But far be it for me to tell you that you're obligated to other black people. You know what I'm saying, Sahel? So I agree with you and I disagree. I agree that it's not my place to tell you, Negro, you owe us. And I know I sounded like a black woman there, didn't I? It's not my place to tell you that. But for real, though, you do, though. Now, it's not my place to tell you how that should look and how you should show up. I'm not going to be counting your dollars. Right? But I do think that black people owe other. If you don't think that, then how is this supposed? Okay, let me get this right. A handful of black people are going to be elite, and those black people either do or don't live around each other. Remember, we only constitute what 12, 13-ish% of the U.S. population, and then those black people, who are their children supposed to end up with? Who's supposed to quote unquote defend them in times of struggle and strife, particularly in this society, America, you know. So I just think it's best practices to help uplift other people of your demographic. That way you kind of have this inbuilt cocoon when needed. Right? So yeah, no, I agree with you on the not shaming black celebrities about what you need to do, but for real though, what you need to do. That's my point, Afro National. Afro National said it was like one sentence. Being reliant on celebrity is pathetic, but those Negroes don't get no passes either. And there you go. And I do think now you got to put, and this is where PK is going. Now you got to put the onus back on black people on how do you actually raise your children. I'm gonna say this and try to get out of here in a minute, but okay. I'm frightened when I hear certain black celebrities speak that I know have children because they sound like they're raising sociopaths. Oh yeah, Mr. Z said that. Yes, I did. When I hear black people start speaking about not helping other black people or they need to get on their own and I have to struggle like this and you start getting into the weird Darwinism talk, right? When we start getting into the weird Darwinism talk, when I hear certain black people is speaking about IQ and who has the mental fortitude and who's built for it, and I'm like, I'm not. It's not just them that I think about. I think, oh crap, you have kids. You have kids. What type of sociopathic children are you raising? How are those black children going to use their class position in a way that's detrimental to the masses of black people who are largely lower middle class and working class black people? Do you not understand? Like, if you listen to certain rappers' songs, take out the violence. Just take out the violence part and just listen to like what they think sounds like words to the wise type thing. Right? Like, the line that just comes to mind first is like a Jadakiss line that's like, if you got to clock in, like truly you're a slave. And he didn't say clock in, it was something along those lines. But like, if you don't have your own job, then truly you're a slave. And I'm just like, right? it's just this when you listen to, and that's just a rapper line. That's just a song that excuse me. That's just a lyric in a song. So I'm not gonna hold them to it. But like there's certain when you see certain celebrities when they're interviewed, black celebrities when they're interviewed. Once again, these are millionaires whose children are going to be moving around in circles, rubbing elbows with other black people, with white and non-black people, and you like, and you're supposed to be quote unquote the next generation of advocates for us. Ah, which makes what Chris Rock saying that he doesn't want his daughters to be the face of Black America and be the advocates of Black America, it makes more sense because they didn't grow up in the Black community in that way. Yes, their father and their mother is still Black, but they didn't grow up having to see and be in certain things to truly be the voice for us, right? And Sahel says, Z, here's why I agreed with you. Um, agree with Jason. Oh, I'm sorry. Z, here's why I agree with Jason. We need random Ed Blums in the Black community. Agree. But it's hard for Black people because we just don't have the funds. Agree. And I think that's the thing that a lot of Black people struggle with. And I'm tying this right back to the topic at hand and tying this to Anton. That's the part that a lot of Black people struggle with. They think because they have this one or two nephews who have, let's say, $10,000 or $11,000 worth of apparel in their closet, that's the reason why the Black community is poor. I'm not saying your nephew should have spent his money recklessly on clothes and shoes. That is not what Mr. Z is saying. I'm saying that's not why the Black community is poor. All right. And I think we get into very dangerous territory when we do the reason why we don't have no money is because somebody's nephew has way too many Air Maxes, Cortez, and Jordans. Like just because your nephew got $7,000 worth of clothes and shoes in his closet that's not the reason why the Black community is poor. Just because your niece or your nephew or one of your own kids stood in line for 2 hours to get the new iPhone, whatever, that's not the reason why the Black community is not poor because one of your kids or one of your nieces or nephews stood in line for 2 hours to spend $1,600 on a cell phone. That's not why the Black community is poor. Stop it. Right? Like we use these instances of we use respectability and these instances of like Black people not performing quote unquote the correct way as like being emblematic of why the Black community doesn't have any money, and that's just not why the Black community doesn't have any money. That's just not why. Right. I think the best way for me to say it is like spending a certain amount of your income recklessly is not why the Black community doesn't have wealth. Right? Yeah. This is a good one. And Compassionate says, we have a problem planning for the future because the future was always precarious for us at best. For real. And I do think that we should work on socializing Black people in a different way now. I would agree with that. But then first you have to acknowledge that, just like Compassionate just said, where that stems from. It's the marshmallow test. Right? Huh. And this is some of the, yes I do, neighbor, yes, and that was one of the highlights of getting the Breakfast Club on the map. I'm not saying it's the first necessarily, but it was one of the high points of getting the Breakfast Club like on the map. And Nema says, Z, do you remember when Dame Dash was on the Breakfast Club and was talking about being the boss out of the womb, as well as calling everybody a chatty patty? Yes, I remember. I remember that. I remember that. Absolutely. Thank you, better you. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not mature. It's not ideal. I'm not advocating for this. But let's be very clear. This is not why the black community is poor. And better you says they was broke before they bought them J's. LOL. Exact, bruh. Once again, it's not smart. No one is saying it's smart. No one is saying that black people, and this is one of my lines, right? Black people are inappropriately responding to a toxic environment. But many, even in the black community, we definitely know non-black people, definitely white folks engage in this. They don't think the environment's toxic. It's giving, using one of the lines of women, it's giving, right? The end of history, Francis Fukuyama. We've gotten to the best place we can socially and politically. So why aren't you Negroes rich yet? What? And the reason why you Negroes ain't rich is because you're spending all your money on them Jordans. Right? So, on that note, y'all, let's actually, yeah, let's pause right here. Um, I I said this to Anton. I know he didn't get to listen to this whole thing. But you know, it's important that Anton un or because I don't think he doesn't understand, right? And when y'all hear me say that about someone, like I really mean it. I don't think they lack the comprehension skills. That's not the issue. I think our ideology, our political stance, what we're partial to is what skews our view of these things, right? That's a good one, name. That's a good one. The name it says love, peace, and Popeye's biscuits. Tro, where you at to say them dry ass biscuits? Them biscuits don't be that dry. I like them actually, right? Sahel says Z, let people be people of leisure. I'll be a kept woman of leisure. Right. So yeah, no, I put this out here for Anton to maybe think about this differently, or at least consider these things, right? I think it's important, and I think where we're going, it needs a bit of nuance, right? Because it's really black people. Black people, for the most part, are going to be the ones that make or break this election again, right? Namely, black men. And I want Anton to consider how speaking the way he does, what that means in the long run, right? Particularly when you speak about Kamala Harris as if she has power like that, right? If Kamala really had power, do you really think that Joe Biden would be running for a second term in his current state? Like, we know she's not presidential, but still, if she had power, do you think that the party wouldn't pretty much tell Joe Biden to step down and let Kamala run? Right? And PK says, open up and let's talk about it. I'm gonna try to do a panel later on this week, PK. I'm gonna try to do a panel later on this week. All right. So yeah, exactly. GC. Nobody, no one wants her ass. But if she really had the power, couldn't she try to force the issue? Right. Nobody wanted Biden. Bernie won one state, and they were like, "Okay, yep, Biden, get in here. We're gonna maneuver some things. We're gonna make some phone calls in the background, and yeah. Oh no, we ain't gonna have the socialists up here. Not the small hat socialists. Absolutely not. And you think Kamala got power? Pfft. Kamala was put there to shut black women up, right? Look at Vic. Vic saying we need 20 more likes, folks. F boy Joe. Better you be cracking me up when he say that, right? Thanks, Vic. And Vic says everyone in here because they choose to be. Emphasis on the choose. Please hit the like button. Thank you, better you. She ain't got the juice. Look at Fannie Willis went against all these rappers and a high-powered attorney, and all of them sitting in prison right now, or did some jail time coming out of Atlanta. And yet Trump got mad because this lady over here prosecuting him for what it seems to be that he actually might have did. Once again, allegedly. And did Fannie look like she had any power in this situation? Character assassination and embarrassed the lady. Yeah, she kind of embarrassed herself with the type of escapades. But can we be honest? Like, these people were literally going to the attorneys that were prosecuting the case, the judge, and feeding them information. And you think Fannie is the one that's showing power in this situation? Trump's people were feeding the prosecution information about Fannie, and Fannie got power? Stop, Anton. Come on, bro. You ain't dumb, bro. Right? PK said, "I'll do a premiere on the subject." All right, PK. I see you. Man. So to Anton, I say, brother, I hear you. Um, I disagree, but I think there is multiple examples of one, yes, as Dr. Umar Johnson said, these people do care about black people's consciousness, and they are here to manipulate it and to dilute it and to make sure it's ineffective because of their fear of this little 12, 13% of the US population and its influence, not just here in the US, but globally, right? And multiple, once again, politicians and corporatists have been caught saying it, right? So to that, Umar is correct. Anton, Umar is correct. Dr. Umar Johnson is correct. All right. And once again, I'm just hitting off points before we end out. When Anton says they continue to sell you the black struggle, black people are struggling, Anton. And I got kicked out of my own stream, but we're back. Right? The Pathfinder is dope. She won't have any problems with it. And Leon says, Z, what's going on with Nissan again? My wife is looking to get a Pathfinder. She won't have no problems with a Pathfinder, especially new. Yeah, she won't have no problems with it. Yeah. And yeah, and GC says Umar might make some sense when he's not peen policing. And then you have to understand the angle. Dr. Umar's always going to come from the Hotep pro black angle with a smattering of Queen Earth Mother Goddess, black women god angle. You know he's going to come from that angle, right? And the ego is going to be in there. We already know this, but he's going to say things that are facts, right? Oh yeah, yeah. And Leon says no, but I'm a few minutes behind, and you said Nissan is going through it. Explain to me what it is. So Nissan is going through it with their lineup right now because of what happened with Carlos Ghosn and Nissan and his pretty much exit, being kicked out of Nissan, the investigation, him sneaking onto, pretty much he sneaked into some music equipment and got snuck out of Japan, right? Because he was on house arrest. And so he hired pretty much a party at his house because he was on house arrest. Excuse me, in Japan, and he snuck into the music equipment and dipped off to which country was it? Bahrain? It was in Bahrain. Was it Bahrain? Which country was it? I forgot what country it was. But yeah. So since then, Nissan's been like in turbulent times. They're still putting out cars, but they're like, wobbling right now. Yeah, and it's affected a lot. So they're up and down. There's obviously, from what I'm seeing, there's not going to be anything with put Nissan either going bankrupt or anything like that. Not that I'm seeing right now, but yeah, and Nissan they way overdid their fleet sales, and they're too heavy leverage on fleet sales, number one, and the CVT debacle that bit them in the rear end, which partially is Carlos Ghosn's doing. That stigma is still sticking with them, right? So there's that also. Yeah, they got a couple of issues right now. But once again, from my understanding, I don't see them filing for bankruptcy. Watch them file for bankruptcy tomorrow because Z said it. But I don't see them filing for bankruptcy anytime soon. I don't hear anything necessarily wrong with any of their cars, especially when they started tightening up on the CVT transmissions, which were purposely built cheaply for not in recent Nissans, but going back, a decade plus. The transmissions were built cheaply on purpose because Carlos Ghosn was trying to cut corners for profit, right? So there were certain parts of the CVT that should have had better cooling that didn't. That should have been made out of metal that was made out of plastic. Yeah, but that's not a more recent development. That's going back a little while. So yeah. But yeah, so on that note, y'all, we'll pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all have a great y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Um, Shout out to PK. Let's see, PK said he gonna stream. Um, as I said to the brother Anton, this is no disrespect. I just think that there's certain things that you should consider um, to make a more nuanced argument. But if that's not what you're trying to do, then that's understandable. Also, you know, I get that we're not going to align politically, and it just might be just like a disagreement, ideological disagreement that cannot be overcome. That's possible, right? I got to make space for that. So, yeah, Vixen, we got close tonight, folks. Y'all be killing me, right? And Leon said CVTs are cheap to start off with, anyhow, but I get it. CVT is this is car companies' way of like messing with the emissions and keeping emissions low because the way CVTs work with the belt oftentimes, right? But you have companies like Toyota actually gives you one gear in the CVT. The first gear is actually a gear. It's not kind of belt driven. Um, so yeah, so that's their way of like giving the transmission not only longevity but giving you a strong initial send off. Um, and it can handle torque a little bit better. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, y'all killing me. Jesus said, keep bringing up car stuff. We got them right where we want them, right? Um, tell Tito to Tito was streaming when I was streaming. Actually, I started streaming after he started streaming. But yeah, no, we'll set up something, and then I guess so. I guess better you. That'll be the next car talk. We'll have Tito up, and I guess I'll maybe talk to Tito about car stuff for an hour, and then we'll maybe bring up a panel later. So that we'll do it. We'll do another car stream. I'm overdue. I did. When was my last car stream? Was what, a year ago, and then it got flagged, and y'all can't even see it. So I can still see the first car stream I did, but y'all can't because yes, I did do copyright. So copyright infringement stuff. So yeah, that's on me. Yeah. Thank you. Exactly, Leon. And Leon says CVT keeps emissions low and saves gas and direct power when you want it. But it sucks. Yeah. And CVTs are just where automatics were back in the day. Just like remember your grandma's automatic slush box, and after a while the transmission started slipping, right? Like that's where CVTs are now. Y'all give it another decade and maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter pause. And CVTs they'll be mint, right? Who would have ever thought we would have got to the day where we had 10-speed automatics, right? And automatic transmissions could handle power and dual clutch transmissions, like, right? So who would have ever thought we would have got there? And that's where we are now. So there's that part. All right, y'all. Look, I see y'all, and Leon's in on it too. But so we'll pause right there. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Oh, y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content. Y'all go check out other non-Manosphere content, for the love of God. And yeah, Mr. Z out. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of y'all night. Once again, brother Anton, this is no disrespect. We're gonna disagree. I definitely don't think this is, swords out type of disagreement. I do think there's some things to consider. I agree with you on Dr. Umar Johnson, and a bit much on the King Kong of consciousness, right? The King Kong of consciousness thing. It's a bit much. It's a bit much. But he although he wasn't as cogent, and he may know the details, but just didn't bring them up here. He does have a point, and he is actually correct on certain things. Once again, the FBI did speak about preventing the rise of a Black Messiah. That's real. That is about manipulating the consciousness of Black people to the point where you might even want to delete those Black people that you think are Fred Hampton, are the quote unquote new Black Messiah. So Dr. Umar Johnson is stating facts. It may be uncomfortable facts. It may be annoying because it's coming from a hotep space, but he's correct, and it's okay to acknowledge that, right? So, once again, we'll pause right there. Y'all have a great rest of your night. All right, Mr. Z out. Indigo, I read that comment. Excuse me? Excuse me. Negropeans. Here we call you a Negropean, Indigo. And on that note, y'all, Mr. Z out.